A sense of self-awareness brings with it growing levels of perspective. As children, we learn that we are smaller versions of those around us, and we will grow and learn and become adults one day ourselves. We learn that life and death go hand in hand. As we were born, there too will come a day where we will die. Memento mori. And oddly enough, self-awareness also gives us knowledge that we are not the center of the universe. The more we learn about ourselves and our identity, the easier it becomes to relate to forces outside of ourselves, the people and creatures around us, the splendor of nature, the grandeur of the earth itself. But oh, how that perspective shifts. When we look up at the night sky, at stars blazing with life and fury light years away, and we realize that for as much joy and sorrow, pain and triumph that we experience on this vast and grand world of ours, from the perspective of everything else, we are little more than a pale blue dot. And as our awareness turns from self to things beyond our understanding, we dream of two things. Is anyone out there? And what's it like? Because as our awareness goes outward, and we gaze in wonder at the unknown, it reflects the same thing we feel in fleeting moments at the wonder of our own world. How much more overwhelming would that feeling be if we could, in similar fashion, gaze upon the strange vistas of other worlds? There is an almost indescribable evocation of emotions at play here, a swirling mixture that can only be truly gleaned through allowing the experience to overwhelm you. Exo One isn't asking questions or making statements of a profound nature. Rather, and in contrast to similar works that have come before, it is simply presenting you with a journey. Your only role in this is to experience this journey, but this simple task of both beholding and being is far more profound than I could ever properly explain, examine, or describe. But I will try. The reminiscence which strongest comes to mind when thinking about this experience is actually not a game, but a movie. 1997's Contact, to be precise. The two share certain themes and narrative elements, right down to one particular pivotal plot point. A signal of extraterrestrial origin, which after much drama and intrigue in the case of the movie, turns out to be the blueprints of an alien device. This device becomes one of the primary focuses for the plot in both pieces of media. In the case of the movie Contact, much of the narrative centers on hope, faith, and determination in the face of uncertainty. Despite various subplots surrounding interpersonal conflicts and the undermining of Jodie Foster's character, the movie presents a question. What happens when our current ideals and traditions surrounding religion, science, culture, moral and rational imperatives, and progress are challenged? And the answer it provides is a sincere and hopeful look into a future just outside of our reach. The story doesn't end on an exultant or triumphant note. It simply gives a glimpse of what could be, and asks us, the audience, to reflect upon this limitless possibility as well. On the other hand, like I said earlier, Exo One doesn't ask questions. It doesn't fixate on any of these considerations and quandaries. You never truly meet anyone, or have any fully fleshed out characterization. You are simply gazing upon grand and far off possibilities, because the reality you're envisioning simply is. The game begins with a brief vision of Earth, over which plays a distorted and fractured narrative, confusing in the moment, profound in retrospect. Just like with Contact, there was a signal, containing instructions to build a vessel, but unlike Contact, the human element is what is enigmatic in Exo One. Everything else is an open book. This narrative prelude references both the nature of the vessel, a strange probe powered by gravity manipulation, and a tragic accident which occurred involving astronauts exploring Jupiter, which alludes to a strange connection between the only survivor of the incident and the signal sent to Earth in the first place. From this point, nothing is fully explained, no instructions are given, other than what the controls for the game are, and I highly recommend using a controller for it if you can. Once you make some progress while getting the hang of the probe's abilities, a readout appears with vague and somewhat enigmatic information. This information suggests something which the player has probably already intuited by now. Your goal is to reach that mysterious blue beacon, ever present on the horizon. And this goal, by and large, stays the same for the rest of the game. Well, for the most part, but we'll get to that later. For now, let's go back to the journey. The way you engage with the primary gameplay loop might remain mostly the same, but the actual content varies wildly. For example, as you coast above the waters of an oceanic planet, you come upon, well, this. Who built these things? What purpose do they serve? How in the world are some of them floating? Maybe, I thought to myself, just maybe, if I could just reach the top, maybe then I'd find my answer. And so, I began my ascent. With a mixture of momentum, careful maneuvering, and the clever use of updrafts, I managed to climb to one of the highest of these floating islands. Unfortunately, I didn't quite make it to the top. Perhaps I will one day. But there was a feeling, almost overwhelming, that stayed with me during this little adventure. It was ever present as I glided through clouds and mist, under the shadows of monolithic floating islands. And as I rolled over hills and fields far above the sea below, and as I paused for a moment in the sky, taking in the majesty of clouds and lands below. It's the same feeling I got while trying to solve an intriguing gravity-based puzzle, hopping from planetoid to meteoroid, all under the fiery gaze of a burning star. It was even the same feeling I got when, well, I'm not sure how to describe this, honestly. You'll have to see it for yourself to understand. It's difficult to describe, but it pervades the entire experience from beginning to end. And while it isn't easy to describe this feeling, it is very similar to one that almost everyone watching should be familiar with. a feeling that comes in fleeting moments throughout our lives, filling us with a deep sense of wonder and longing at the world around us. And ultimately, it leads us to consider our purpose and place, how we fit into the unfathomably large puzzle that is existence itself. What brings meaning and purpose to our lives? And ultimately, what purpose should be fulfilled before we die? And this consideration is at the heart of Exo One, because the very reason behind this grand cosmic journey we are embarking on is the reclamation of lost purpose and meaning. Remember when I said that the narrative of the 1997 movie Contact was mostly focused on hope, faith, and determination in the face of uncertainty? Although the human element of Exo One takes a backseat to the wider experience, the same can be said of it as well. Because in both cases, it's the juxtaposition of humanity versus the universe beyond ourselves that truly defines the experience. The contrast brings clarity. In this journey across alien worlds, parts of the narrative continue to be revealed in the same manner in which the story was first introduced. As I explained previously, an incident occurred, lives were lost, and a single survivor was left. Much of the story which can be gleaned from this distorted narrative is from their perspective. In this story, everything we experience, the cloud-covered expanses of floating islands, wind and storm-swept dunes, geodesic megastructures across shadowy mountains and valleys, all of this wonder and splendor takes a back seat to the survivor's goal. Now, fair warning, I'm going to get into spoiler-heavy territory, so if you want to avoid that, just skip to the time code on the screen. The story reveals the adversity and struggles faced in the pursuit of this goal, the lengths that one would go to in order to reclaim what has been lost. It is never revealed who sent the signal, or its true purpose. Who built the sprawling network of transport monoliths across the stars? What civilization constructed all these gargantuan structures in the first place? How the lone survivor of a failed exploration mission to Jupiter could feel a pull across the vastness of space to reach the signal's source, and that at the end of this unbelievable journey, they would have a chance to fix the mistake that led to the mission's failure and the deaths of their friends. Maybe the signal really was meant for them. Who knows? But as they activated the final mechanism in this long chain, riding an event horizon into the unknown, they had no way of knowing what would happen on the other side. Beyond the challenges they faced and the help they had along their journey, the conclusion shows more than the hard-fought reward of their determination and sacrifice. An incredible journey across the stars, breaking the very laws of space and time, all to save 5 astronauts in the stormy skies of Jupiter. The great expanse of the universe unfolded before us, wonders and mysteries untold at our fingertips, but none of this matters in the end. What is the life of one person when compared to the universe around us? The answer is simple. We are connected to one another. While our wants, hopes, and desires drive us to all manner of pursuits, Objectively speaking, how much am I worth compared to a star blazing with life and fury millions of miles away? Not much. In spite of our wants, desires, dreams, goals, fears, and achievements, we are a tiny part of a grand framework, specks of dust on this pale blue dot. And yet, through the course of our lives, we experience joy and pain, triumph and failure, despair and hope. And while these experiences might not mean much in the vast expanse of the universe, they still matter because they matter to us. And in the course of you watching this video, or playing the game we're talking about, or watching the flashing lightning of a storm at night, or gazing at a sunset, or pondering the mysteries of the universe, these experiences only matter because you matter.